impeachment. We will try to do the impossible and detail each and every single lie from that guy. We're going to expose him. We've been telling you he's compromised, he's corrupt, and a congenital liar. Tonight we prove it. But first, as we have been telling you for over 2.5 years, our top story tonight, the single biggest abuse of power scandal, corruption scandal in American political history. Our country's most powerful tools of intelligence were weaponized against a private citizen and a presidential campaign, transition team, and president. This all in 2016 and 17. And we were right. President Trump was right. The Attorney General Barr was right. Spying occurred. We told you. The mob didn't believe it, but it's all true. Take a look.
Do you still stand by your statement that the campaign was spied upon?
Most clearly spied upon. I mean, that's what electronic surveillance is. I think wiring people up to go in and talk to people and make recordings of their conversations is spying. I think they went through people's emails, which they did as a result of the FISA warrant. They went through everything, from Page's life.
Because he wasn't in the campaign at the point where he began the surveillance.
Yes, but his emails go back.
So while the mob and the media, they chased their own tail breathlessly, obsessing about one hoax and conspiracy theory after another, we on this program, we never relented. We unpeeled every layer of the onion. We covered this very real abuse of power, this very real corruption scandal, perhaps the biggest in history. A scandal that now the Attorney General of the United States just called intolerable. He's right. These are powerful comments. Pay close attention. These comments are not made in a vacuum. This is the Attorney General of the United States. He knows more than all of us on this. Take a look.
I think our nation was turned on its head for 3 years. I think based on a completely bogus narrative that was largely fanned and hyped by an irresponsible press. And I think that there were gross abuses of FISA and inexplicable behavior that is intolerable in the FBI.
Let me repeat. For 2.5 years, our ensemble cast, we got the crap beat out of us every day. We were beaten up. We were made fun of. It's all fine. I don't really care what anybody says anymore. But we, the people, we were right every step of the way. And the Inspector General's FISA abuse report, while limited in scope, confirmed and revealed major facts. One, and we've been telling you, Hillary Clinton's bought and paid for dirty Russian dossier. It was central. It was essential. It was almost the entire FISA application against Carter Page, the backdoor into the Trump campaign, transition team, and even presidency. Without the dirty dossier, as we told you, there would not have been any FISA warrant. Second, the so-called intelligence in the dossier was nothing but garbage, lies, conspiracy theories, uncorroborated garbage based on one single corroborated, never verified. In fact, as we told you, it was unverifiable. Third, the dossier's author, Christopher Steele, said his single source was an egomaniac that liked to boast. And fourth, Steele's single source told the FBI that his or her claims were never corroborated, were never conclusive, and were based on word of mouth or hearsay. And a crude joke at the bar, especially, remember the hookers, Moscow, Ritz-Carlton? Yeah, all of that information totally admitted from the FISA applications on purpose. That would mean premeditated fraud, perpetrated repeatedly on the FISA court. And according to the Inspector General, there were at least 17 significant failures, inaccuracies, and omissions. By the way, hey, super patriot Jim Comey, that's your FBI. That's you. You did that. You hurt the premier law enforcement agency of the world, not the rank and file. They are fantastic. You signed off on 3 of the 4 FISA applications. You never verified it because it was unverifiable. You knew full well that the information provided was never close to being vetted, true, or accurate, and that it was unverified. And under Comey's corrupt, malignant leadership, high-ranking FBI officials, again, not the brave men and women in the best law enforcement agency in the world, those top guys knowingly misled that FISA court repeatedly. They knowingly and purposely, we learned yesterday and today, omitted exculpatory evidence. They about the reliability of Steele's principal source. They even altered things. And AG Barr is now saying Comey's FBI, well, they may have been acting in bad faith. That's an understatement. Take a look.
Here, to me, is the damning thing. They not only didn't tell the court that what they had been relying on was completely, rubbish. They actually started putting in things to bolster the Steele report by saying, well, we talked to the sources and they appeared to be truthful. But they don't inform the court that what they're truthful about is that the dossier is false. So that's hard to explain. And the core statement, in my opinion, by the IG is that these irregularities, these misstatements, these omissions were not satisfactorily explained. And I think that leaves open the possibility to infer bad faith.
What is Barr really saying here? That Comey is now a likely subject in the Durham Barr criminal probe? Well, I guess he didn't get the memo because Mr. Super Patriot, he's out there taking a victory lap, living in his conspiracy theory world and praising his own courageous leadership in the Washington Post. Mr. Comey, I've warned you about this before. You might want to hold off on popping the champagne, and guess what? You have the right to remain silent, and I suggest you might want to do that. We have a clear pattern now of willful misconduct. Comey, Brennan, Clapper, and all these other top officials in the Obama administration. And one of the most damning pieces of evidence is the fact that no one inside the Trump campaign, they never went to the Trump campaign, the candidate Trump, he's a patriot, and warned the Trump campaign about this counterintelligence investigation. Nope. Let's see, Brennan went to the Russians twice, and Obama went once to tell them. Take a look.
What I find particularly inexplicable is that they talked to the Russians, but not to the presidential campaign. On August 4th, Brennan braced the head of Russian intelligence. He calls the head of Russian intelligence and says, we know what you're up to, you better stop it. He did it again later in August, and then President Obama talked to President Putin in September and said, we know what you're up to, you better cut it out. So they go and confront the Russians, who clearly are the bad guys, and they won't go and talk to the campaigns and say, what is this about?
I'll have more, tell Vladimir I'll have more flexibility after the election. Instead of briefing the president, his campaign at the time, or members on his team about a possible threat, this is pretty unbelievable. Brennan, Obama, others, Comey used their meetings with the Trump campaign and transition team, secretly collecting evidence on Trump and warning the Russians. A setup, an insurance policy from the get-go. But let not your hearts be troubled, because Barr and Durham clearly are speaking out for a reason. They obviously, it's not hard to figure out, know things we do not know. And their now official criminal investigation is beyond serious, and I would believe justice is about to be served. It will take time. I'm not making any time predictions because, well, I thought that the Horowitz report would probably be out last May. Now, tonight, the president, he has every reason to be confident that those who have grossly abused their power, those that have been corrupt in 2016 and beyond, will, in fact, ultimately be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Take a look.
It all started with the Russia witch hunt, right? Then the Inspector General's shocking report proved that the Obama FBI obtained secret warrants to spy on my campaign based on a phony foreign dossier of debunked smears paid for by crooked Hillary Clinton and the Deans. The FBI failed to disclose the nature of the political hit job to the Pfizer court. They hid it, they deceived it, and they lied.
Here with reaction, North Carolina.
So that was the Hannity show. Now think about it. Now with this IG report that's been released, there's a lot of criminality in it. Now ask yourself, what is treason? Treason is a rare but very serious crime. Learn what it's about and understand terms like leaving war and adhering to the enemy. Treason is defined as intentionally betraying one's alliance by leaving war against the government or giving aid or comfort to its enemies. It's the most serious offense one can commit against the government, and is punishable by imprisonment and death. Treason prosecutions are rare. There have been fewer than 40 federal prosecutions in U.S. history. Federal law. Treason is only the crime defined in the Constitution according to Article 3, Section 3. Treason against the United States shall consist only in leaving war against them, or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of 2 witnesses to the same overt act, or on confession in open court. Article 3, Section 3 authorizes Congress to set the penalties for treason, but not to change the definition or create degrees of treason. The federal treason statute, 18 U.S.C. 23A1, mirrors the Constitution's language and imposes minimum penalties of 5 years imprisonment and a $10,000 fine. A conviction bars the defendant from holding any federal office and carries the possibility of the death penalty. State law. Most state constitutions include a treason provision similar to that in the U.S. Constitution, but state treason prosecutions are extremely rare. By most accounts, only 3 people have ever been charged with treason on a state level. This rarity is due to the fact that the most treason threatens the nation, not merely one state. Hold on. Potential traitors. Treason doesn't apply to foreign nationals who don't owe any lines to the U.S. However, if it does apply to an American citizen holding dual citizenship, it also applies to aliens domiciled in the U.S. who owe a temporary alliance to the country while living there. So, dual citizenship. Let's go down the list. Quick list. We got 85 people in D.C. with dual citizenships with U.S., Israel, and so many other countries. So, what about George Soros? He's the one who's been behind all this crap. CrowdStrike, Ukraine, Russia, Clinton's, Obama. Everybody relies on George Soros. George Soros funds Antifa through the women's program. He funds Planned Parenthood. George Soros is a Nazi. He's a rebellious Nazi trying to push climate change upon the world. Trying to get more money. George Soros collects your taxpayer money. Did you know that? George Soros holds a dual citizenship. Russia, there was a rumor that says Vladimir Putin has a $1 million reward if someone captures George Soros. I don't know. That's just a rumor. Elements. The elements of treason are the same under state and federal law. The defendant owes alliance to the government, and the defendant initially betrays that alliance by either leaving war against the government or giving aid or comfort to the government's enemies. Like, for example, ex-president 44, he gave aid and comfort to the enemies, and he gave them free pass to get into America illegally, not legally, and to the southern border. That's why we have Muslim camps all over the U.S. Look at how many people that... yeah. Because treason must be intentional, someone who unintentionally aids the enemy or is forced to by duress or coercion isn't guilty of treason. See defense of duress. There can be no accomplice liability for treason. Every participant is considered a principal. 2 types of treason. There are 2 ways to commit treason: leaving war against the government and providing aid or comfort to the enemy. Leaving war isn't limited to formally declaring war. It includes any forcible opposition to the execution of a public laws, such forcible opposition ordinarily requires actual use of force by multiple people with the common purpose of preventing some law from being enforced. Weapons aren't always required. Sheer numbers can be enough. For example, Trump campaign was hacked, was spied on. That's leaving war. That's an article of impeachment. That's an article of treason. There's no articles of impeachment against Trump. Remember this. Trump and his son did not do that deal with Ukraine. It was Joe Biden and his son, Nancy Pelosi and her son, Brennan, Kerry, and the list goes on. Merely conspiring to overthrow the government isn't leaving war. There must be an actual assemblage of people who are ready and intend to use force, but see related crimes below. So no person acting alone can be guilty of leaving war. It's not just one person alone. It's a whole bunch of people. Remember when Hillary Clinton emailed Donna Brazile in 2016, August 2016? She told, if this fucking bastard wins, we're all going to be hung by nooses. And when I'm arrested, I'm taking you all down with me. Providing aid or comfort. Providing aid or comfort, the enemy covers a variety of actions, from providing financial assistance to harboring an enemy soldier, an intentional act that furthers the enemy's hostile designs or weakens the United States gives aid and comfort to or adheres to the enemy. For example, back in 2009, President Obama released al-Baghdadi from prison. Rumors say Obama's father to ISIS, Hillary's mother to ISIS. Well, we know John McCain was the general to ISIS. John McCain was best buds with al-Baghdadi because there's so many pictures of him and al-Baghdadi. They died. How many days? John McCain died August 25th, 2018. Then al-Baghdadi died October 26, 2019. 2 months, 1 day, 1 year, 2/11. Sympathy alone. Sympathy for the enemy by itself doesn't constitute adding or comforting. Rather, the actor must take some kind of action to provide aid or comfort. Again, going back to President 42. Bill Clinton gave aid and comfort to Afghanistan. Okay? He started war with Afghanistan and he gave aid and comfort. Time of war, treason by aiding the enemy can't be committed during peacetime. There must be an actual enemy for the traitor to aid. The requisite enemy designation typically requires a formal declaration of war. Again, Obama aided the ISIS, the Jahids, Islam, the Muslims. The list goes on and on and on and on. Attempt. Someone can be convicted of treason even if the attempt to aid isn't successful or the enemy's goal isn't achieved. October 16, 2019. Nancy Pelosi walked out of the Oval Office meeting with President Trump. She then flew to Jordan. That was an attempt. Overacts. In order to prove treason, the prosecution needs to be either a confession or two witnesses testifying to the same overt act by the defendant. An overt act is an act that shows criminal intent and furthers the accomplishment of a crime. Going back to Adam Schiff. He did a false whistleblower. That was all a lie. It was all a farce. Everybody seen it. Everybody saw it. Now, when Adam Schiff stands into court, and admits what he did, now that's an act of treason. But the overt act doesn't have to be a crime itself. A wide range of actions can qualify as an overt treasonous act, from making online opposed to providing weapons and ammunition. Again, we have American people that have provided weapons and ammunition to ISIS in other countries. They have helped ISIS, and those people have been arrested. The key consideration is whether the defendant took the action with the intention of carrying out or furthering treason. Treason changes must specify the relevant overt act, including where they took place. Adam Schiff's act took place in Washington, D.C. It isn't necessary that all participants commit the same overt act. Different participants can commit different overt acts. Nexium. The Royalty, Jeffrey Epstein. Orgy Island, Hollywood pedophilia. As part of a treasonous plan, if the government alleges multiple overt acts, it need prove only one of them by 2 witnesses. Oh, there's a lot of witnesses against the government right now. While testimony from 2 witnesses is required to prove the overt act, the intent to betray can be proved in the same way as the intent for any other crime. Just like with this impeachment scam that Adam Schiff and the Democrats and rotting Nancy Pelosi Skeletor are trying to pull on Trump. They got 5 witnesses or 7 or whatever. Oh, none of them were factual. Nobody. It was all he, she, it was all he said, she said, shit. The First Amendment defense. The First Amendment is the primary limitation on treason prosecutions. Freedom of speech allows people to express anger toward the government, even a desire to overthrow it, but it doesn't protect the speech that is likely to initiate others to violence. See, can I be arrested for yelling or swearing at a cop? But although words usually can't constitute treason by themselves, they can serve as proof of the speaker's treasonous intent. Just like when Madonna said, I want to blow up the White House in 2017, where she said in 2017, when she was standing in front of the White House. Remember that? Crimes related to treason. Treason is related and similar to several crimes. More than one criminal statute can apply to the same conflict, meaning that something falling short of treason may constitute another offense. Misprision of treason. This crime involves someone knowing a person has committed an act of treason, failing to report it to a proper authority, and taking some action to conceal it. For a detailed discussion of a related topic, see misprision of felony. Espionage. Oh, they all committed espionage. Especially Jeffrey Epstein and the Clintons and Obama. And Pelosi. And Feinstein. And Schumer. And the list can go on. Espionage. Espionage is obtaining classified information pertaining to national defense for use by foreign nation. Benghazi. Libya. Iran. Iraq. North Korea. Bill Clinton. Guys, the list can go on and on and on. This rabbit hole is getting very, very deep. If the defendant aids a U.S. ally, treason can't be the charge, but espionage can. For instance, Ethel and Julius Rosenberg were charged with espionage rather than treason for trying to pass atomic secrets to the Soviet Union during World War II. I remember that. But I wasn't alive during that, but I remember reading that. What about Bernie Sanders? Soviet Union. He committed espionage. Seditious conspiracy. This offense consists of conspiring to overthrow or destroy the government by force. Again, Madonna. Again, Nancy Pelosi. Again, Schiff, Nadler, the Democrats, the Rhinos, Mitt Romney, Mexico. I'm not going to say Mexico. ISIS. Ilhan Omar. The list can go on and on. The rabbit hole can get deeper. Unlike treason, seditious conspiracy doesn't require that the defendant owe alliance to the United States. For more on conspiracy generally, see conspiracy laws and penalties. Terrorism. One of the differences between treason and terrorism is that terrorism statutes apply to any kind of foreign national and don't require don't ever require that the U.S. be at war. There are, however, similarities between treason and terrorism-related offenses. For instance, statutes criminalize providing material support to and harboring terrorists, among other actions. To learn more, see terrorist threats. Again, Obama, Hillary, McCain, Bush's, Nixon, Carter, Lyndon Johnson, and the list goes on and on and on. Conspiracy to levy war. This precursor to treason doesn't require that people be assembled and ready to use force. Those are all your treasons. Now, read Democrats' articles of impeachment against Trump on Politico. House Democrats unveiled 2 articles of impeachment Tuesday morning charging President Donald Trump with abuse of power and obstruction of Congress, a historic step that will define Trump's presidency and plunge Washington even deeper into a state of partisan polarization. Now, the Dems have taken the hook and the bait. Now it's time to reel them in. Impeaching Donald Trump, President of the United States, for high crimes and misdemeanors. Resolved that the Donald J. Trump, President of the United States, is impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and the following articles of impeachment be exhibited to the United States Senate. Articles of impeachment exhibited by the House of Representatives of the United States of America in the name of itself and of the people of the United States of America against Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America, in maintenance and support of this impeachment against him for high crimes and misdemeanors. Now, I'm not going to read this article, but there's something. I pulled up the impeachment document. Constitutional grounds for presidential impeachment. Report by majority staff of the House Committee on the Judiciary. Committee on the Judiciary, House of Representatives, 116th Congress, first session. Okay, table of contents. I will include this into the link, into the description of this video. I'm just going to read you the foreword by Nadler. I'm going to read you the names of the people involved. I am pleased to make available a report prepared by the majority staff addressing constitutional grounds for presidential impeachment. The staff of the Committee on the Judiciary first produced a report addressing this topic in 1974. During the impeachment inquiry into President Richard M. Nixon, and the report was updated by majority and minority staff in 1998. During the impeachment inquiry into President William Jefferson Clinton. Over the past several decades, however, legal scholars and historians have undertaken a substantial study of the subject. The earlier reports remain useful points of reference, but no longer reflect the best available learning on questions relating to presidential impeachment. Further, they do not address several issues of constitutional law with particular relevance to the ongoing impeachment inquiry respecting President Donald J. Trump. For that reason, the majority staff of the committee have prepared this report for the use of the Committee on the Judiciary. Hold on a second. Let me get you something. I want you guys to listen to this. Nancy Pelosi smear campaign. Hold on. Let me get it to play. Audio reader error. Okay, I gotta get it to my iPad. Hold on a second, guys. Oh, man. Nancy Pelosi smear campaign. Wrap up smear. No, not that one. Not that one. Hold on.
changes color to show changes in your cat's health? Pretty litter features over.
Hold on a sec.
You demonize, and then we call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you merchandise it. And then you write it, and if they see it's reported in the press that this, and this.
That's also emerging right now, this time out of Washington. A woman said...
So basically, what the Democrats and Rhinos did, what DC did, they demonized impeachment, they demonized Trump's Ukraine call, and they put it as impeachment. They demonized it, and then the press reported it, and then the DC advertised it, and the MSN advertised it. So, these are actual lies of the Ukraine call with President Trump, as you can see below in my previous podcast. Go listen to it. 26-minute podcast. And a boring phone call with President Trump and the Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky on the phone call. There's nothing impeachable about that. Now, let me read you the names of who signed this. The views and conclusions contained in the report are staff views and do not necessarily reflect those of the Committee on Judiciary or any of its members. Amy Rutkin, Perry Applebaum, Aaron Hiller, Barry Burke, Norman Eisen, Aria, Harry Haran, James Park, Joshua Matz, Sophia Brill, Charles Gailey, Maggie Goodlander, Sarah Estelle, Ted Kalo, Matthew Morgan, Matthew N. Robinson, Carrie Terrell, Rachel Calamari, William S. Emmons, Parana Mara, Madeline Stresser. Introduction. Our president holds the ultimate public trust. He is vested with powers so great that they frighten the farmers of our Constitution. In exchange, he swears on oath to faithfully execute the laws that hold those powers in check. This oath is no formality. The farmers foresaw that a faithless president could destroy their experiment in democracy. First of all, our country is not run on democracy. Our country is run on republic. Remember, the Dems have fallen for the bait and hook. Now we just have to wait for the Durham report. Then let the good times roll. Peace out.